Hello, and welcome to the 40 to 400 podcast. I am your host, Jamie. I wanted to introduce to you guys myself and tell you a little bit about me and tell you what the whole point of doing this podcast is going to be for me, what it means to me. So before I get started on that, I want to give a shout out to Jack Stevenson. You are single-handedly inspiring the whole community, the music scene and the music community in our area, and you are really helping us all out by spreading everybody's shows and just really building the community. So thank you so much, Jack Stevenson. I believe his podcast is the two. Let me look up the name of it just to make sure. I don't want to say it wrong. All right. So, anyways, while I'm looking this up, Jack Stevenson, he runs the Two Man Happy Hour podcast, and that's twomanhappyhour.com. I just really wanted to say thank you for all the publicity or whatever you want to call it that you've been giving to all of us bands, and I want to show you guys why we're worth it. So, with that being said, this is the 40 to 400 podcast. It's going to be brand new. I just thought about it a little while ago today. I haven't gotten enough time to really put a whole lot of thought into it, but I put enough thought into it to wanted to present it to you guys and go live here on Twitch, because when I do it, I do want to go live, not for the sake of trying to build followers or anything like that. Obviously, that'll be great in time, but what I really wanted to do was to be able to make it interactive. So if anyone actually does get on the Twitch page, whenever I'm doing the recordings of it, they can post their comments and things. Obviously if they're inappropriate, they shouldn't do that. But I'm not going to be, moderating it much while I'm recording them at this time. If it gets to be something that I feel is abused and unnecessary, then I will get rid of it. But in the meantime, you can look down here, and that should be the live chats whenever they happen and appear. Up here we have the new logo I just made for the 40 to 400 podcast. Down below, I'm going to do the episode number, and then of course down here says that we are live, because right now we are live. So now getting into 40 to 400, the concept and what it means. Disclaimer. There's lots of noises. I'm, at my house. There's dogs that walk around, make a lot of noise. There's amps that make a lot of noise, computers and kids. Just be forewarned that that's all part of the show, and I hope you guys enjoy what the concept is. So 40 to 400 is what they call the bass frequency. It's generally going to be in 40 to 400 hertz. I believe it's hertz. So I thought that'd be the perfect name for it, because it's going to be about bass guitar. Some people really enjoy the bass guitar, some people don't. That's all your prerogative, that's your opinion. This is my opinion. So everything that I'm going to do throughout this whole ride, whether it be one episode or it be a weekly episode or whatever I choose to do, what I'm trying to do as a bass player is hold myself more accountable. I've learned that accountability is honestly one of the most number one rules when it comes to being in a band, when it comes to relationships and jobs and just everything. Accountability is important. So when it comes to bass guitar, when you're out playing shows or you're out practicing or you're recording or you're doing the many phases of being a bass guitarist, no matter what your talent or your actual level is, as in technicality, I am not a professional by any means. Everything I'm going to tell you is going to be based off of my opinions and solely my opinions, unless stated otherwise by someone that I might ask, or I might ask a random question here and there and see if anybody does it, and of course I'll give credit where credit's due, because that's accountability. I want to be more accountable as a player. We get up and we play shows, and while we're playing our live shows, I am doing kind of a lot at this time. because we're a smaller band trying to get larger and just keep growing and building our fan base. So I've been taking on the role of running sound um, and minimal lighting while I'm playing the shows. Uh, Eventually, I'll bring in my system and I'll set it up, and I will explain what everything is and what it does, and the little bit of knowledge that I have in those things and those different components, and what I use as a traveling, a gigging musician, I guess is a better term. Um, we, the band that I play in, you can check us out on YouTube now. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on pretty much any major platform. Uh, we are called South of 90. Our latest hit and our first single is called Life Today. Life Today was written by the lyrics by Jerry Chamberlain and the music by Jerry Chamberlain, Ricky Lee, Jimmy Vaughn, and myself, Jamie Daire. Um, and it was mixed, and it was mixed in Nashville. Um, the actual name of the company is listed on it. It was recorded at Cosawago Studios by Jamie Daire and Mike Pierce. Um, so yeah, pretty awesome. I just want to put those credits out there. It's a great song. You guys are welcome to check it out. Check out the band. Um, Again, I have life going on around me, so I do apologize if it gets too loud or takes away from the point of the things I'm trying to make at that time. But this podcast, in time, will get better because I will be more well prepared whenever I go to record them, and I will, eventually, if I enjoy it, I will purchase more things to do it more correctly. My USB interface stopped working, so everything I'm doing right now is off of my condenser microphone, which is a Yeti. Um, my big dog is out there. He's missing my bass playing, so he's whining. That, or he's waiting for the wife to get home. The little whiner, that's our little Chinese crested nuke. The other one's the deaf dog Linus. He's a Great Dane. He loves my bass playing. He always says it sounds great. It never bothers him when I play, no matter how late of the day it is or any of that stuff. So for that, I'm thankful for Linus. So yes, my name again is Jamie Daire. This is the 40 to 400 podcast. I started playing bass guitar when I was, I believe, 18. For Christmas, all I wanted was another guitar. I had just started playing guitar, regular guitar, at 17, and I wanted for Christmas a bass guitar. So I got a Rogue 4-string bass guitar. It played well. It was my first one, so I anticipated that it was great. I found out, after a while of playing it, that there was better guitar players out there, and there was better bass guitars that you can actually play, and instantly, you start watching what other people are playing and what people are, how they're playing it and the gear they're playing it on, and everything is a bunch of rabbit holes that I have no problem going down in time, but so I got a bass guitar. At the time, a couple of buddies of mine that I was in marching band with, the one played guitar and the other one played drums, and they were both, in my opinion, well beyond their years. They were just great at 17, and they did not have a bass player. So after I got my bass, I figured if I got a bass, maybe I could learn it and join a band. So instantly, I tried to jam with those two. We jammed a few times. We learned a couple of songs. I think a Blink 182 song maybe at the time. And we learned to play. I can't remember. It's been so long. But when I learned to play them, I did not play them well. I played the bass, so it gave it the bottom end, and it gave it the feeling that it required to have the bass guitar there. But I was by no means good, and I practiced, a lot then, especially then. I practiced all day, every day, and every opportunity that I had to do it, I chose to do it. shortly after that, I joined a cover band. Um, when I think I joined the band, they had a name, and then the band name converted into another name when we started acquiring players. So as the story goes, I joined the band as a guitar player, and then we brought in a new guitar player. His name was Jerry, and I knew Jerry from growing up. He was a good friend of my older brother's, and then whenever I would see Jerry, he would, always talk about how he plays guitar and everything. And so finally, he, got invited to come and join this band that I had just joined, and proved that I could do it. Jerry comes into play, and then at the same practice that Jerry come to practice with us, the bass player shows up, and he said that he's got other obligations in his life and would not be able to remain practicing in the band. So we all looked at each other. We're like, well, what are we going to do now? And I kind of looked at them all half jokingly. I said, well, I have a bass guitar. I could probably learn some songs on it and play it. And they are all like, all were for it. They believed in me, and so we ended up booking a show a couple of probably a month or two later, and then I ended up sitting down and learning all the songs that we played on the bass, and I was very terrible at it. I cheated a lot with skipping learning this part and skipping learning that part. I would just get the easiest part of the song down, the main portion of the song, and I would just start to learn those parts. And then when it would come to runs and walks and those kind of things, I just, at the time, I did not have any desire to learn them because I wasn't convinced that I wanted to even be a bass player. I was just really doing it to help our band out. For our first show, I think we played maybe 15, 20 songs. And I felt it was really cool to being able to do that, because growing up I was always into music. I always, danced and sang with my brother, danced, any kind of style that I could learn, at a young age and things like that. And my parents were very musical, so we always had music playing in the house, and a lot of country from my mom, and a lot of rock from my dad, and a lot of R&B and hip hop and stuff like that from my sister and my older brother. Never really got into like rock, like mainstream rock, until I started playing guitar when I was 17. Then I went from singing boy band stuff and just singing to trying to learn to actually play an instrument. And the transition was definitely a lot, going from singing "You're All I Ever Wanted" to trying to learn to play Matchbox 20 on a bass, or a guitar for that matter, at the time. So getting back to the band that I was in, we were playing songs from Godsmack and Nickelback and Default, Alice in Chains. Let's see here, we were playing songs from Candlebox. We were playing stuff from Linkin Park, Bush, Fuel, a lot of them bands that were at that time frame. I of course, did not listen to them, so when I got into the band, I was introduced to all of that stuff. Jerry, it was funny because Jerry had listened to more of the rock than I did at the time, but he was playing and listening to mostly country because his dad and his brother, they were players in our area for a long time at that time, and still are to this day. So learning all them songs was definitely different, because not only was I learning to play a new instrument, the bass, I was also learning to play a different style of music than I was used to listening to all the time and playing. So I had to surround myself with the music, because when you're playing a band, if you are a ska band, or you are in a punk band, or you're in a country band, a rock band, it doesn't matter. You surround yourself with listening to and absorbing and learning and feeling out that genre of music that you're trying to play at the time. You're not gonna ever learn to play a ska song if you've never sat down and just really tried to get the fundamentals of the ska music down, and before you try to create your own stuff. Some people can do it, good for them. You know, I felt I was that guy too. Yeah, I don't want to play covers. Covers are lame. I just want to write my own songs. You know, all that attitude and things came down the lane years after that. Playing in that cover band, it really made me fall in love with playing bass guitar in a way. But I was not a bass player. I was just a guy playing the bass because we needed a bass player. I joined a couple of other bands. I joined metal bands. I joined, you know, I'm trying to remember what kind of music they were. They were more of a slam rock band, more punky band. I joined bands that were more like Stained, and I joined a band with Jerry called Family Values, and we played like songs from the theme in bands that are similar to Korn and Incubus and them bands at the time. And again, I was learning the songs and I was doing all right, but I had no desire to be a bass player. I just, you know, just because somebody's got to do it, so I did it. After some time, some years or whatever, I ended up, you know, starting to play more rock original bands, and it was fun. One was like a death metal original band. Another one was a hardcore. What is the terminology? It was. Oh, come on, it's coming to me. Bands like Killswitch Engage and them. Metalcore. I joined a metalcore band. It was very awesome, and you know, every chapter in stories of your life, that most of them start and stop. It's only very few that keep going, and things just change, and you join other bands, and you get with other groups of people, and find inspiration in different ways. But every band I was ever in, and every project I was doing, I was learning. I was learning the fundamentals of that style of music, or of writing songs, where you learn how to take patterns and twist them and things, and I can get all into that maybe at another episode and another time. But I ended up starting an original band of my own. We called ourselves at the time Desperate Echo, and we played what we called aggressive rock. It was really fun. It was really cool. You know, I always enjoyed playing in the band. The bandmates were awesome. We had fun, and it was the first time that I had ever felt challenged solely as being more of a front man rather than just being the bass player in the back. I always dabbled at some background vocals here and there, but I just never could get it right, and it was hard for me. When I was in my own band, it was a lot easier for me to sing mains or leads or whatever you want to call them. It was a lot easier for me because not only were we doing our own songs, but they were doing our own songs that I wrote pretty much all the lyrics for. So I wasn't having to worry if I was remembering all the words. I wouldn't have to remember, you know, who does the song and just all the changes and things. Because when it's your own, it's authentic, it's natural, it's you, it's everything that you are about. It is your soul. So a lot of times it's a lot easier to remember your own stuff at the time. Joined a couple other bands, and I always enjoyed every one of them, and I always look back and smile at them. But what they always did for me was they always pushed me harder, and pushed me harder, and pushed me harder. There was a band that I did join, and it was my first real opportunity to shine as a bass player, and we played for probably like 2 years. It was awesome for me. Like, I got to surround myself with some of the most talented musicians I had ever learned that were in our area and got to play, and I got to meet a lot of people through doing it, and it was just very awesome. At the end of it, it just kind of, you know, fizzled out like most bands do. I had a sense, a feeling of disappointment in myself. I felt like I could have just done even more, but I felt like I just, I don't know if I didn't have the opportunity to shine, or just my life at the time wasn't, the most enjoyable for me as a person or as a musician. And, it just ended. And then I got to join a couple other bands after that, a couple more original bands. And then I ended up getting to be in the band that I'm in right now, and the ride that we've been able to go on. Um, we've been doing this band for probably about the better part of 3 years now. Hell of a ride. I will get into all that, and maybe eventually I can get some of the guys to talk on the podcast about what we're doing, things like that. I have no idea where I want to go with any of this. Everything is sporadic and in the moment. But I'm really excited about being able to talk to everyone else and all you guys all at one time about what goes on in my head, as a musician and as a gigging musician and as a self-proclaimed bass player. It honestly wasn't until, man, a year ago, honestly, where I just said to myself, listen, man, who are you kidding? You've been playing the bass for all these years. You've been in all these bands playing the bass guitar, but you just don't have it in you. You don't want to put in the work. You don't want to. You just don't want to accept it and put in the grind. And that's why I didn't want to be a bass player, because bass players are unsung heroes in a good majority of the population of people, because they just don't understand exactly what the bass does. But bass, to me, it's always been my driving factor, and it's always been my gig. But honestly, like a year ago, right when COVID hit, you reevaluate yourself, and you look at yourself and your past self and your present self and your future self, and you look at your hobbies and things, because we're not allowed to do anything. We're literally stuck at home. At the beginning of COVID, we are. If you're a essential worker, you're able to go to work. If you're a non-essential worker, you're able to sit at home and feel like, what can I do to pass the time? So a lot of people, chose different paths in their life, and my choice is, I set out to be the best bass player that I can be. I want to honestly just keep putting in the work and keep learning to be the bass player that every band would deserve and appreciates having. So that's the whole reason why I wanted to do this podcast, because I just wanted to be myself and tell you guys why I want to do that, and the things that just go on, besides just annoying my friends and having to hear it. So where would I say that I am at right now as a bass player? I can play some patterns, some scales. I feel that my rhythm is pretty solid. I feel like my walking bass is less than adequate. I feel like my fills are less than adequate. I feel like everything I do is honestly less than adequate. So that's why I want to go down this rabbit hole and to show you guys where I'm at. You get to see the show, and you get to see me firsthand getting ready for the shows, and the things that go on in my head leading up to them. So I would like to introduce you to my friend. This right here is one of my two basses. I do not have a giant bass guitar collection. You would think that I would, but I do not. This is my Music Man Stingray sub-series Stingray 5. This is not the first 5-string bass I ever owned, but it's the first one that I ever appreciated having and actually learned a lot more on, because I had an LTD that I had gotten when I was in one band, and I had gotten another bass before that, probably better part of 15-20 years ago. I had gotten them, or I gotten it. I tried to play it and I couldn't do it. Let me see if I remember. Yeah, I don't remember what kind of bass it was, but it was uh, it was probably like an LTD as well. Honestly, I think it was an LTD. Um, Bass guitars that I have had along the way, the ones that I remember the names. I had an Araya Pro 2 fretless bass at a time. Uh, I had a Dean Custom. I had a Rogue. Um, I have had amazing bass guitar. A lot of people, you know, every guitar is for everyone different. Two people are not going to necessarily enjoy the same exact things about it. But I had a Yamaha BB614. So the Yamaha BB614, I had bought it for that one band that I was discussing. It was the first time I got to stand up and felt confident as a original bass player in a rock band. And so the guitar that I had when we first started, I don't remember what it was, but I ended up going out and getting with my income tax is a Yamaha BB614. That guitar was awesome, 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 awesome. Um, it it had a built-in graphic EQ like booster and all that stuff. Uh, Real fancy. Played in many bands with that guitar. Played many, you know, I'd say I played a lot of shows for at that time in my musical path and my musical career, if you will. I played several shows with it, and then we were doing the band Desperate Echo, our bass player at the time was playing it. When I was in another band, Just Circle Yes, our bass player was playing with it and using the Yamaha. So it'd been under a lot of people's hands, a lot of bass players' hands, and there was a lot of great music written on this thing. When I got out of the one band that I was saying, um, I just didn't feel like that guitar was for me anymore, and that's why I stopped playing bass guitar for many years while I went back and ventured into original rock bands and metal bands. Because I just didn't want to be a bass player, so why have a bass that I'm not going to use or play? So that guitar ended up getting acquired from one of my most inspiring bass players in our area, Jimmy Jams, J Lo, whatever you guys want to call him. I call him Jamie, but Jimmy Jams. Uh, he was always awesome to watch what he was creating while he was playing the song, because we were playing some heavier songs, and somehow he was taking and bouncing between strings and like finding the octaves and finding cool fills and things. He just, for all the time that we did that band, he, in my opinion, was just always so phenomenal, and it made it so easy for me to write parts to. Because I always felt the vibe of the bass, and he was my driving force for actually pretty much all that band. But he's the one that has the Yamaha these days, and yeah. So after the Yamaha, I decided I was gonna start playing bass again for a country band that I was singing in at the time, and our bass player quit. And we ended up getting another bass player for a little while, and we had a couple, probably 2, 3 people in between trying out and stuff. But then we had a second bass player for that band, Bourbon Street, and it just schedules didn't line up, and the bass player was no longer able to play in the band. So I ended up having to play bass because, again, somebody's got to play bass, and I was bummed out because I just didn't want to do it, but it had to be done. So my twin brother had a bass at the time, and he let me use it to get started in the band. And I ended up, using my brother's bass for a while. I think it was I don't know if it sounds right or not. I'm not. I remember it's green. I don't think it's GHS, but it was something. It was like 3 digits. And I was using it for a little while playing country, and it was just a rock bass, and but that didn't matter to me because I didn't care. I didn't even care to play bass, so I was just making it work. And then towards the end of that band, uh, I just was, feeling disappointed in myself as always, and I just felt like I couldn't figure out what it is I wanted to achieve on the bass, so I didn't really try, and I didn't push myself the way that I know I should have for myself and my bandmates and our crowd that were coming to watch us. So I got asked to play in another band playing bass, and I said, it's like, no, I don't want to do it. I have no desire to do that. None, 0%. I just want to play the guitar. This is my opportunity to play guitar in a country cover band, and I just wanted to play guitar. So we get together for a couple practices. The roster of the project had changed a couple of times. We had a couple people come and a couple people go for bass, and a couple people go and come for the drums. And it was around, man, it had to, I can't remember if it was 2018, 2019. I had called the singer of the band, and I'm like, listen, I know we need a bass player, and I know that we have to be able to have that at every show and everything. And I said, I think I'm just going to accept it that I'm going to be a bass player, and that I'm going to go back to my roots, and I'm going to try and play bass in the band, because I feel like I can be more helpful to the band playing bass. But it was different than all the times before, because all the times before it, I didn't want to play bass. When they asked me to play bass, I said, no, I'm not a bass player. I don't want to do it. And then, it was around New Year's, and it was time to, do the New Year. And I was like, listen, man, I want to go back to my roots for a little bit, and I want to play bass, and I just want to give it a try and see if it's something I can actually find myself enjoying. And to my surprise, I focused on it, and I put in some of my time, and I started learning some of the songs on the bass. Went through two more drummers because they were already progressed, and they were great, great to play with in a band setting, but we weren't where they wanted us or needed us to be at the time. So they did not participate in our band. But I didn't let it defeat me. I didn't take it personal. I just took it as feedback, as a gift. Thank you, Jerry Jasper. I took the feedback as a gift, and I just started working harder. And I actually was finding myself putting in more practice and spending more time actually giving a shit, if I may say that, what the was going to be played. So I started working on it. Before I knew it, we were playing probably a good close to a year. We ended up getting a drummer. He knew that we were looking for a drummer, and we were talking, and he said that he would be willing to try it out, and he tried it out, and he showed up to an audition. We had picked like 7 songs or something to learn, or 5. I think it was 5 songs, and we all showed up, and he knew them very well for a guy that never got really into playing country ever, never even really listened to the music, but he was driven, and he wanted to learn. He wanted to challenge himself and to be challenged, and he learned 5 songs, and he showed up to practice. And we're all looking at each other like, yeah, man, like this is what we're talking about. Well, all these years later, here we still are, still making music, writing songs, and being the musicians that we always felt that we deserved to be. But we just all, as individuals, we were all doing well, musically in different phases of our lives or in our musical career. But we found ourselves all brought together. And since then, it's been an awesome ride. South of 90, to the guys in the band, thank you so much for pushing me and challenging me and teaching me how to be humble, how to be more assertive, how to be a part of a team, and how to find the groove and the melodies in songs, and giving me the opportunity as a bass player and just as a person to be able to be a part of such an awesome ride. And I hope anyone out there that's listening to this and wants to get into a band one day, maybe you're just starting to tinker around. Maybe you've been playing for 20 years. Maybe you're too shy to take the stage. That's okay. Everybody has their story and why they do the things that they do. But for me, when I first started playing guitar, I played guitar for probably a whole year before I even felt confident enough to show all of my closest friends and families how much I sucked at the guitar, because I wasn't good at it. And still today, I'm a lot better than I was, but I'm still not good at it. But the moral is just keep going, keep pushing yourself. Don't worry about what anyone else is gonna think. Don't look at somebody on a video on YouTube and things that they have nowadays and be like, man, I want to be that guy. If I do this, I can be that guy. If I can do that, I can be this guy. If I can do this scale, I can be that bass player. All those things might be true, but that doesn't mean you have to. It's okay to be yourself. Me and one of my good buddies in the music scene, and close to our band, I was talking to him. I says, it's never a bad day to be myself. So that's my motto when it comes to being a bass player. Is there's never a bad time to be myself. Whether I play well on a show or I quite downright screw it up, and the crowd knows it, man. When you hit a sour note, the crowd knows it. As a player, you know it. Do you know how many times I've played and I've looked out there and I've seen people just kind of, just like, okay, well, they smile and they just kind of shake their head like, wow, there it was. Or guys up on the stage look over at you and they give you the stare, the stink eye, as we call it. We've all been there. And those things are all part of growing as a musician and growing as a player. Obviously, the whole goal and the plan and the path to take is to put in the time and put in the work. So when you show up at the shows, you don't make those mistakes because you've already played them so many times that there's no way that you can play it wrong because you just learned it. And you learned it correctly. Me, I struggled with that for a very long time. I just did not want to put in the work. I'm not saying that I didn't have the ability or the time or the tools to do it. I just didn't want to do it. I can tell you 100 excuses or a million reasons why I didn't, but that's all bull crap at the end of the day. It was just me not wanting to put in the time and not wanting to put in the work and not being accountable for myself. And that is why I am doing this right now. Because I want to be accountable. I want to be the best bass player that I can be. I want to maybe inspire you or someone you may know or someone that checks us out one day and they're like, gosh, this guy's a dork. Well, you're right, I am a dork. That's one of my best qualities. I always say, what I lack in talent, I make up in charisma. And I try to hold that true, when I'm playing shows. I'm out there trying to play and I'm trying to get into it. I'm sitting back, I'm jamming, I'm moving around. I play with a wireless system. I gotta get out there and I gotta get the vibes going. I gotta feel the music. I gotta feel the crowd. I gotta do all that. COVID made that very interesting to do, by the way. Not gonna lie, COVID made that very weird. Even when we first started playing shows again, it was very weird because we, as musicians playing the shows, did not have to wear a mask. But everyone else in the building was wearing masks. So then, of course, you have the guys on the stage that you're that close to, and you're that, you're up, 6 foot apart, or you're at 9 foot apart, or you're 3 foot apart. It doesn't matter. When you're on a stage, man, the world disappears. All the negativity disappears. Everything. It's therapeutic. That's why we do it. It's because it makes us feel alive. It makes us feel great. And it makes even COVID and everything else out in the world, it makes it just disappear for a little bit. Even if it's only for one split second in your mind. It all goes away. You're just in a moment. And that's why with people with ADHD, and things like that. A lot of musicians do have ADHD, um, because it becomes an outlet for them, uh, to be able to take something and put it in their hands. It gives them something to do, whether it's strumming a guitar, playing chords, whether it's drumsticks or playing keys or playing any type of an instrument, cellos and just anything. Uh, when you're doing it, the world disappears. And yeah, I can't help it. Bass guitar it's driven me in a way that I've never felt so passionate about wanting to really achieve. I felt a lot of things came to me, compared to others. Seemed like a lot of things made sense to me faster, or I learned how to do things faster because it was very technical in my mind, and I was very good at separating my head, my mind, and my hands and my feet. So maybe I would have been a great drummer if I felt like doing the work. Clearly, I didn't want to put in that kind of work. So I'm not a drummer. Can I play drums? I can play some drums. Maybe one day I'll want to put in the time and the work and get better at them, but I'm not a drummer, so I have no desire to do that. But that doesn't mean I don't appreciate it, and I value drummers. The best relationships in the whole wide world, I think the strongest bond in the world is between a bass player and a drummer. If you have a bass player and a drummer who are not in sync with each other, or they're not wanting to be standing next to each other, or any of that inner turmoils or anything, if you don't have that bond in the moment as a solid bass player and a solid drummer playing live music together, like, that bond is so hard. It's so hard to get with just anyone. It takes practice. For a lot of people, it takes years and years and years of practice to really hone in that bass drummer, the bass guitarist and the drummer bond. I feel I've had a great bond with a few drummers that I've played with over the years, but the bond that I have with the drummer of our band, it's way more than that. It's way more. When I'm on the stage, between and we're playing, we're like looking, and we're like just getting in the groove, man. It feels intimate to me. It feels just so. It makes you feel alive, and like the fact that you're sharing that moment with this person, and then you get to take a deep breath, and you get to look back, or you get around you, and then you see this guy playing his guitar, and he's in the same mind frame and the same wavelength and the same musical ride. He is there with you guys, and the guy over on the other end of the stage, he is in the moment, he's doing his thing, and he is in the moment, and he is playing, and he looks over, and all of you guys are all looking at each other at one time, and just the music feels like you're not even playing it. It just feels like you're really, it's become a part of you. It's literally just coming naturally from you, like a dolphin's echo. It's just that vibe. It's the best drug in the world, and that's what led me to wanting to do this podcast for you guys this evening. It's a lot of fun. It's really cool to be able to talk about these things. I can get more involved with my conversations and be more themed for a recording. I can be more open to suggestions and things like that. This is definitely going to be the first episode. I'm going to put it on YouTube this evening. I am going to put it on SoundCloud. And it is being recorded live right now on Twitch. The next time that I go live will probably be, what's today? Tuesday. Honestly, it might be this week again. It might be next week. Just get on Twitch, go to twitch.tv/Sprangborough, and sign up for my notifications. And then whenever I go live, you can check it out and be a part of the recording process of it. I'm not sure if that's going to change in the future, but right now this is how I want to do it, and the platform I want to do it on. I am going to post it on YouTube. You can check it out at any time. If you are checking it on YouTube, thanks for stopping by. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. My name is Jamie Daire. I can't wait to really start diving into more episodes, and I plan on playing songs and showing things that I'm working on at the time, just to show you where I'm at as a musician, and to hold myself the number one thing. Today's episode should tell you is accountability. If not for yourself, do your accountability for yourself, for your fellow bandmates. Until next time, I will see you guys later. Don't be afraid to get a bass guitar under your hands and go for a ride. Find inspiration. I know I sure am. I will find a much better tagline for this stuff, for this podcast. Things it will mature if we keep going. Let me know if you enjoyed this, though. Honestly, Twitch, YouTube, you guys, I'm doing this for you. So let me know if you guys enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Feel free to subscribe. If you don't like it, put a thumbs down. That's fine too. I get it. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. We're all people, and that's a great thing. I'm not the musician that you are. You're not the musician that I am, but we are both musicians, and we can always still get along. You guys have a great evening. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. See you later.